church would say we've got a spiritual marriage, and Robyn's believing in that still says they need to have these marriages dissolved.
How on earth did Kody and Robyn just buy a $2 million house? I can't stop wondering how they're managing to afford it. Robyn alone seems to burn through money like it's going out of style. Take January 2025, for example. She's already dropped $7,000 on. Wait for it, dolls. Yeah, dolls. If that's just the doll and Etsy addiction, imagine what the rest of their spending looks like when you factor in things like groceries, random home shopping channels, Victoria's Secret splurges, Vegas art, and of course, Amazon. Let's not forget their mall trips. Those must be adding up too. Seriously, how can they afford an $11,000 monthly mortgage on top of all their other bills? What kind of income are they getting from the show? Robyn doesn't seem to have any other side gigs, and Kody's whole gun business isn't exactly making headlines. And speaking of businesses, they've got a whole graveyard of failed ventures. Shout out to Coyote Pass, where even the realtor was questioning the property's potential. All right, I'm just going to say it. Kody must have an OnLifeIns. I mean, those abs? People can't get enough. If they're living off TLC money, there's a major disconnect between Kody and Robyn's grasp of their star power on the show. I find them incredibly dull to watch. Honestly, it's hard to imagine TLC thinking they're still compelling enough to keep the show going. After all, they're monogamous now, and let's face it, they're boring. I could totally see TLC spinning off a show with Christine and David. He's actually interesting. Or maybe a Christine and Janelle duo. Sorry, Meri, you're just not cutting it. But if I were Kody and Robyn, I wouldn't be planning my shopping sprees based on a TLC paycheck until that contract is actually signed. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. The "what does the nanny do" moment? That one really hit a nerve with the public. For years, we watched Kody treat the OG wives terribly, and honestly, it was painful to witness at times. Then, finally, Christine became the show's truth teller. We'd all had our suspicions that the show wasn't exactly painting an accurate picture, but the dysfunction and blatant favoritism were so obvious it was hard to ignore. Christine, bless her, ripped the veil off the whole charade and revealed exactly what viewers had suspected all along. The backlash against Kody and Robyn finally happened, and let's be honest, it made the whole thing way more interesting. The lies were over, and now we could finally see the real story. What's especially hilarious is how that whole "what does the nanny do" phrase blew up. Originally, it was a question about whether the nanny was coronavirus safe enough to be allowed in the house. But the fans were so curious about why this family needed a nanny in the first place that we completely changed the meaning of it. Classic. Let's break it down. A man who lived in the same house as his kids couldn't even leave one room to tuck in his other children while their mom worked. Like really? This was back in season 1. Logan and Aspen were basically the parenting team before they even hit double digits. Kody wouldn't lift a finger to help any of his wives, claiming he was busy with another family. And yet no one, not one of the other wives, said, "Hey Kody, go do your job?" Not even for 10 or 15 minutes? Seriously, he's been a deadbeat from day one. Even his dad saw it. I honestly wish Christine had followed up with this gem. Meri followed all the coronavirus rules, but you guys never let her visit. Yet the nanny was coming and going every day, even though her husband worked outside the home. Someone please make that make sense. Is it just me, or does Kody turn into an even bigger jerk as the seasons go on? Like, it's so obvious now that you can't ignore it. The deeper you get into the show, the more his narcissism and nastiness are practically in your face. You can't miss it. Oh, he's definitely gone downhill. He started out as this goofy, somewhat likable guy, and now he's an angry, narcissistic rage machine. And that's just what we see on camera. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's even worse off-screen. It's like watching a slow-motion train wreck. People like Kody tend to get worse as they age. He was 40 when the show started, and now he's 55. Back then, he was all about free choice and had this upbeat vibe. Now, he's controlling, bitter, and barely tolerable. Remember that early coronavirus meeting when Janelle jokingly compared him to Win? At the time, it seemed like a laugh, but by the time their Christmas fight came around, it was no longer funny. She flat out said she didn't even recognize him anymore, and honestly, I can't blame her. Robyn's dolls and Ariela's behavior, a deeper dive. So I'm rewatching season 17, and it's finally hit me just how extensive Robyn's doll collection or hoard really is. Now I'm starting to wonder if there are a couple of scenes that might make a little more sense in light of this. 2 moments in particular stand out. 1. The dolls have dates. Remember how weird it was when Ariela was using grown-up language? Like, why on earth would a kid that young talk like that? But now, I'm asking myself, do the dolls have dates? I mean, does Robyn sit there playing dolls with Ariela, and they're casually discussing relationships? Because based on the comments Robyn made about buying an Eric doll for Ariel, yes, that Eric, and her strange obsession with modesty clothes, this whole thing starts to look a lot less innocent. 2. Kindergarten report, pest stealing a man? Now, this is one of those lines that had me scratching my head. Pest stealing a man. Really? Who talks like that? Is this more of Robyn's doll play spilling into real life? Are we dealing with dolls in some bizarre soap opera plot where the stakes are who's dating who and stealing men rather than, I don't know, actual childhood play? It sure sounds like it. Questions that need answers. Robyn's doll obsession has been brought up on the show before, like how her dad made her a dollhouse and how she and the girls, Aurora, Brianna, Gwen, Isabel, and Savannah, used to play with dolls as though they were the 5 parents. And let's not forget, these were Barbie dolls, so this wasn't even normal childhood play to begin with. Robyn's also mentioned that she's been collecting doll furniture since Brianna was a baby, which seems like a pretty long time to be deep into the doll life. Children do what they hear at home at the end of the day. Kids always reenact what they hear. And from what I'm piecing together, it sounds like Ariela might have been hearing some interesting conversations at home. In the latest season, Christine casually drops the bomb that Robyn had been laying the groundwork even before their marriage, hinting at some wild rumor about the first wife divorcing the husband so that the new wives could adopt their children. Because, of course, that's the kind of advice you want to get from someone who's already plotting for the title of favorite wife. Now, Meri's legal marriage was the one thing she had left that set her apart from the others. Janelle and Christine were both juggling 6 kids, and Robyn, well, she was the young, pretty one. So why on earth would Meri give up that legal title? Spoiler, she didn't. But let's be real here, regardless of who came up with the idea. The reality is that women in these setups are trained to play by the man's rules. At the end of the day, it's Kody's world, and Meri, well, she was just a background player in the drama. Kody's choice of words in that couch talk scene is something, isn't it? During season 1, episode 9 at 41:30, he says, Logan is still the man. They're not losing anything with her coming into the family. It's like he planned to showcase just how much he doesn't get it. Here's the thing. The OG3 spent the whole episode praising Logan for picking up the slack, but they couldn't even bother to acknowledge the parentification he's dealing with. It's like, oh yeah, Logan is totally fine being the one to bear all the emotional weight. No big deal, but sure, he's the man. And then Kody drops this line, basically saying, yeah, no big loss here, Sobin. We've got Logan to handle all the parenting while I go do my thing. I mean, talk about passing the buck. It's like Kody's saying, Don't worry, I could be off doing whatever with my affair because Logan's got it covered, as if that's totally fine. Meanwhile, Logan's shouldering a huge burden, without even a thank you. And then there's Kody's sneaky little bragging moment about Logan. Of course, he takes credit for all the good stuff Logan does, as if it's somehow a reflection of his great parenting. Logan is still the man, as if that's Kody's accomplishment. It's gross, especially when you consider that Logan's basically left to handle things because Sobin won't step in to parent. Logan's getting the glory without any real acknowledgement of the weight he carries. Classic Kody move. As for him and Michelle not wanting more kids, well, I can see why. They've already got one kid in Logan doing all the work. No need for more when you can just pass it off to the oldest. Very brave choice, considering his upbringing. Honestly, I'm shocked the IRS hasn't shown up at their door yet, considering all the bankruptcies, wild spending sprees, and the money-shifting circus they've been running. Kody might want to take a trip to Todd C's place for some advice on how to stay under the radar. But hey, who knows if they're even paying taxes? The IRS doesn't exactly investigate people just for blowing cash on ridiculous things, or for letting others use their money for a down payment on a house. And let's not forget, their last bankruptcies happened way before the show ever started. It's not like tax liens are some rare phenomenon for reality stars. If they weren't paying their taxes, I'm sure we'd be seeing that by now. Where do I even start with this? So here we are, Vegas. The family's all settled into a 30-day rental, and things are going swimmingly. Well, if you call scrambling to find 4 rental homes, dealing with stuff still left at the Lehigh house, and figuring out how to sell it all while the kids barely start their new schools that are 30 minutes away, with different start times, smoothly. Oh, and Janelle? She's over here stating the obvious, pointing out that their resources are a little finite right now. But don't worry, here come Robyn and Kody to totally steal the spotlight. What's the perfect solution to all their stress and chaos, you ask? How about getting pregnant? Yep, because in the middle of all that madness, clearly the best decision is to add another baby to the mix. Forget about the fact that the family is stretched thinner than the paper-thin patience of a toddler. No, Robyn and Kody are relaxed. And in the midst of everything, what else could they possibly need? Oh right, another baby. Makes total sense, right? Every time I watch this, I'm just floored. Robyn and Kody's level of selfishness is off the charts. Seriously, the entire family is running on empty, trying to adjust to a completely new life. Kids dealing with new schools, trying to adjust to their new family dynamics, and, having to make friends in a new state. And yet, Robyn can't fathom why everyone isn't jumping for joy at the news. Like, there's absolutely nothing more important going on, right? Not even the fact that her son truly wasn't even a year old yet, so no, it's not some cute baby fever excuse. She had to know how it would land, but all she cared about was being celebrated for her master plan. Let's be real though, I'm starting to think this pregnancy announcement was part of the bigger scheme to become the legal wife. Christine and Janelle had legal ties through their kids, but Robyn, nothing. No legal connection to Kody's kids, no official status. And don't tell me it's just a coincidence that she chose this chaotic moment to add another kid to the mix. Talk about timing. I'm not a fan of Robyn for more reasons than just this, and honestly, I just can't even imagine what it would be like to put my kids through that. As a parent, I am so protective of my children, and I get that it's natural to want to make sure they're safe. So when my kids want to go to a sleepover or playdate, I'm always cautious, especially if there are older male figures involved. It's not paranoia, it's just good sense. I can't imagine putting my kids in a situation where they suddenly have to adjust to a new dad and a bunch of other men in the house. It's like inviting chaos into your home, and I just don't get why anyone would think that's a good idea. Maybe it's just me, but to me, it seems like an unsafe structure, something that could open the door to all kinds of issues. But hey, maybe I'm overthinking it. Or maybe not. Okay, brace yourselves for a truly terrible theory I feel really guilty about, but hear me out. I'm convinced Kody's slow descent into madness started when his and Robyn's sex life went downhill. Think back to their early days, red-hot, intense chemistry, and Kody was all manic energy, positive vibes, whatever you want to call it. Robyn, too, was more assertive, maybe even a little spicy. Fast forward, and now Kody's this sullen, angry, weirdly jealous guy, getting all bent out of shape about his son, getting his pencil wet during the pandemic. Yeah, definitely the hallmark of a sane, well-adjusted person. Now, we also know Robyn's kids, like Oriella and possibly Solomon, co-slept with her forever. Oriella wasn't weaned until about 3 years old, which, as any parent can tell you, pretty much kills any shot at intimacy between you and your partner. I know firsthand, because when my toddler was co-sleeping and breastfeeding, my husband and I might as well have been roommates. Only when we finally got the kid into his own room did our physical relationship come back to life. So here's my shocking theory. Maybe Kody's whole manic, negative, obsessive, increasingly creepy behavior is because he's sexually frustrated. Maybe the guy's just been waiting years for Robyn to get her kids out of their bed. Horny people do crazy things, you know. Kody, in his infinite wisdom, probably thought that if he just gave Robyn whatever she wanted, maybe, just maybe, their sex life would come back. Which, of course, is exactly what she learned to exploit. She keeps the kids in their bed while piling on the gifts, because why wouldn't she? And her shy act? Oh, that's just the latest way for her to withhold from Kody, keeping all the power in their little dysfunctional relationship. It's a classic move. I feel awful for even thinking this, but I honestly think I'm onto something here. Now, throw in the fact that Kody seems to be on testosterone supplements, which, surprise, increase aggression. If his libido's taken a hit, that's pretty normal for men his age, especially when you mix it with his unique combination of toxic masculinity and men's rights nonsense. Add that to the rise of toxic, cult-like groups during the pandemic, particularly with white males in his age range, and you've got a perfect storm. Kody's not just some angry guy, though. He's the wannabe leader of a cult. Honestly, his behavior is eerily similar to what I've seen with my own dad, who fell hard into QAnon during the pandemic. It's terrifying how aggressive and borderline abusive he's become, just like Kody, when someone dares to disagree with him. Luckily, I finally got my siblings to see it for what it is, a cult. And Kody? He's already on his way to becoming the leader of his own little mess, if he isn't there already. It's all been building up for years. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.